Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Namibia. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses Namibia has called for parents and all stakeholders to address bullying in schools. Jehovah's Witnesses encourage parents and guardians to speak openly with their children as well as to enforce rules. With more details on this, I'm joined now by Mr. Sheldon Greenwood, the spokesperson for the Jehovah's Witnesses Namibia. Good morning, sir, and welcome back to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning, Denzel. Thank you very much for having me again.
How are you doing on this gift of a Thursday morning?
We are doing very well.
Perhaps bullying occurs because we may not understand what it amounts to, and we may deem certain behavior acceptable when in fact it isn't. So I think a good point of departure would be to define bullying as broad a concept as it may be.
So bullying has been defined by many as it's ongoing, it's something that's ongoing, it's purposeful, and the idea is to cause another individual emotional or physical torment. And often the bully is one who has perceived power or he has power. The victim is somebody who's vulnerable. Now, children at school, they experience being insulted, so that might not be termed as bullying if it's a once-off incident. And often they need to learn how to deal with things like that. Then the other thing is there's various types of bullying. There can be physical bullying, verbal attacks, and also something that recently has raised its ugly head is cyberbullying, which is very dangerous because often people use social media to bully others. And the problem with that is that there is a permanent record of that person being bullied.
Speaking about the scope, the magnitude, the gravity, particularly if one has regard to social media and its impact when we are talking about bullying in the online space, what does the picture look like in Namibia from what we know?
You know, if I may just, I'll hone in on Namibia, but what is interesting, there was a report, I think it was UNESCO. They did a report, it was a worldwide report. And they reported that 1/3 of teens around the world have been bullied.
Sure.
It affects all countries, and it also affects all income levels. The reason why I mentioned that, because the stats that we have regarding Namibia are shocking. So what they did is in 2019, November 2019, there was a special report done. And in this report, it mentioned that they looked at grade 4 and grade 6 learners. And in the month previous to that, in October, they mentioned in this report that 51.5%
Of the respondents,
these grade 4, grade 6 learners, their experience been hit once. So that was in the month of October. Then they said 11.5% experienced being hit 3 times in 1 month.
Sure.
So you can see this is now bullying because it's ongoing. This was just in the 1 month. So we can see that in Namibia, it's quite serious. So that was physical attacks. Then there were teens, early teens. They did some research on some of these early teens. And these early teens reported that about 70%, these were girls by the way, 70% of these girls, they had experienced bullying in non-verbal, non-physical. So maybe verbal or online or something like that, once in the month. And then I think it was 28%, 3 times in the month.
Sure.
So this is in Namibia. And then not so long ago, last year, I think it was 29th of March, there was a very nice article about bullying. And they interviewed a local life skills teacher at a school. You know what she said? She said that bullying takes place every day. And then she said that the severe cases happen every 3 to 6 weeks.
Sure.
So unfortunately, bullying is alive and well in Namibia.
I want to ask at this juncture, it's a noble cause that you've embarked upon as a church and as a community. Why has it become the business of the church in general, but the business of Jehovah's Witnesses in particular?
You know, if you think about it, Denver, our children are the future, especially at primary school. If you look at primary school, this is where children are in their formative years. So what gets done to them or what they do to others, if allowed, it shapes their thinking. And so bullying, it can really erode the moral fabric of society. But for us, the main motivating factor is if we think about God, Jehovah God, in his first interactions with humans, right there, in the book of Exodus, second book of the Bible, when he gave Moses the law, one of the things that he mentioned there, he said that anybody that is vulnerable, who is ill-treated, his anger will blaze against them. So you can see his feelings, how Jehovah feels about people who bully. And then later on, when his son came down to the earth, you remember that account, I think it is in Luke 18. What happens there is that the parents bring their children to Jesus. And then they reprimand the parents. And then Jesus said, no, don't do that. Jesus got angry. He said, don't do that. Bring the children to me. Now, bearing in mind, Jesus was a busy man. 3.5 years he was on earth. He had a lot to accomplish. But despite that, he made time for children. He took these children into his arms. He cradled them. He blessed them. What was he showing? He was showing us that children need to be protected. Children need to be cared for. So as Jehovah's Witnesses, in imitation of Jehovah and his son Jesus Christ, we feel that it's very, very important to raise this issue of bullying.
Thank you. A matter that we perhaps should park for another occasion, but certainly is no less important, that the bullying doesn't stop in childhood. It often extends beyond that and even into adulthood, even into the workspaces. But if we were to have regard to the psychology of the bully, if we are cognizant of hurt people hurting people, why do people bully? Why does one child bully another child?
That's a very good question. The reason why that question is good, Denver, is because, you see, it's good to know the reasons. It's not an excuse, but if you know the reason,
you
then
can
you
intervene.
Can help. That's right, you can help. So there are many reasons, but one of them is poor role models. You see, people don't have role models. Children don't have role models.
At home.
At home. Maybe older brothers bullying, The
Parents
father
bullying
or
them.
the mother is a bully, And then the other thing is, often the child may have insecurities. And now he masks this insecurity by doing what? By projecting this air of superiority on others. And then, of course, some of the entertainment that children get involved in, that doesn't help. They see all of this violence, and then they want to act these things out. And then lastly, many bullies were victims as a child. Yeah, that's right. As a child, they experienced it. They were shaped by it. Their mindset was formed by it. And now they're doing the same thing to others.
What I know from personal experience, but also inferring from the point that you just made, is often the teacher is also a bully.
Yes.
So the child is bullied by other pupils, but certainly also by a teacher.
Yes.
When we're talking about help, when we're talking about intervention, what does it look like for both the bullied, but also for the bully?
So let's look at the person, the victim. So maybe what we can do is, we've got some very good friends. We'll change their names, Philemon and Carolina, we'll call them. They have 3 kids. One of the kids, the middle kid, his name is Pandu. Pandu was bullied from grade 1 to grade 3, and then again in grade 6. So one of the interventions, something that is very important, is that parents must communicate with their children on a daily basis so that they can catch it early. And so this is what Carolina and Philemon did. They constantly, when they pick up their kids from school, they immediately talk to them and so forth. And then what this family does is, once a week as a family, they get together and they discuss problems.
Intentionally.
Yeah. To prepare for the future problems that may come, but also problems that the children are currently experiencing. And so they tackle this problem of bullying. Now, on our website, jw.org, there are many articles on bullying. Like one of the articles is bullying is a global problem. Bullying, how to break free from bullying. What are the causes and what are the effects? And in addition to this, we have about 3 videos. And the one is a beautiful one. It's a whiteboard animation. And they showed this, or they went through this video with their child, Pandu. And one of the things it does right in the beginning of the video is that it identifies how the child feels. So immediately the child feels recognized. You see? So
Heard and validated.
that's right. So how the child feels. Then the next step, what it does is what those feelings can cause. Maybe the child doesn't want to go to school anymore. You see, things like that.
Or they start wetting their bed again.
Exactly,
Yeah.
things like that.
I can imagine, Mr. Greenwood, that if you are an engaged and an involved parent, the way every parent should be, that you would be able to pick it up early enough when your child gets bullied. But for the parent whose child is the bully, it might be a bit trickier to pick that up.
Yeah.
How would one go about that journey?
So that is a very good question. Well, one of the things is many schools, they have these campaigns. They have these campaigns of anti-bullying. And often they advertise it so the parents can see it as well. Parents can pick up certain characteristics at home because the child cannot hide really who they are.
In their safe space.
In their safe space, maybe with the other kids and so forth. And then they can start helping their child.
Unless, of course, the parent is the bully and that behavior of the child at school is actually a cry for help. But that's why we know that it requires all hands on deck.
Yes.
And it requires, of course, a whole entire village to take care of our children. Mr. Greenwood, I wish we had an entire day to unpack this very important matter, but we don't. Any final thoughts before we let you go, please?
You know, we would like to encourage parents to go to the website, jw.org. The beauty of it, it's in 1,074 languages. The information there is Bible-based and it's free. And why we encourage parents to go there is because the information is practical. It's not just something that's taken from a book that was written 2,000 years ago, but it is practical. It's explained for our day. And this can really help parents and children to overcome this serious problem.
Thank you for your time and thank you for caring for our children.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, Mr. Sheldon Greenwood, spokesperson of the Jehovah's Witnesses Namibia, talking to us about the contentious issue of bullying at school in particular, what it is that we can do to assist your child if your child gets bullied, but also what it is that we need to do to assist the perpetrator. We will be right back after a brief break.